Hey everyone, so it's another video, and today I'm going to be talking about an interesting point that I have curated from all the stuff that I've been reading and listening to, and all the lectures that I've been watching, and the books I've been reading. And certain things, um, like it or not, they pop up. Similarities do occur. Not everything's similar, not everyone's the same, but occasionally you'll find that it's very eerie how certain mentalities and behaviors or habits or uh, things mentioned do pop up. And today we're going to be talking about this whole concept of standardization. Basically, what happens is our body adjusts uh, to whatever standard we obtain. And so, if you see people who obtain a lot of money, or they make a lot of money, or they obtain some material possession, what you will find is that their body will naturally, over maybe 6 months or so, or maybe even less, they will ratchet up and adjust for that new shiny toy and become accustomed to it. And this also works along with the concept of comparison. So we are just naturally programmed genetically, and again, it's probably due to our ancestral environment, to compare ourselves to what other people have and always look higher than you. It's a very natural tendency, and usually it's you're comparing yourself to the people around you, and therefore one of the big um, things you see is that people who tend to live in neighborhoods with uh, people who are a lot more lavish than them will experience a lot more jealousy. They'll always be trying to keep up with their neighbors and so forth. Whereas people who live in neighborhoods where they're at the top have the opposite effect, and they're generally more content with life. And it's one of those things that really work very well together. And I've seen a lot of millionaires through videos and so forth who have admitted this. And it can lead you to a state where you're always trying to keep up with the Joneses, and you can be that person who has already achieved enormous wealth. Let's say you're a millionaire, you have millions of dollars, but because you're in a neighborhood where everyone's making $10 million and they have mansions twice the size as yours, it's a horrible thing, and you can end up being screwed over. So that's one thing I will keep in mind. I probably want to live in a neighborhood that's not exceptionally lavish. And again, this can apply to numerous other areas of your life, not just what home you choose. And this also applies to what a lot of people who have experienced success end up doing, which is they keep on keeping up with the Joneses. That phrase pretty much means keeping up with your neighbors. The Joneses is just like a random generic phrase for the last name of your neighbors. And so you're constantly trying to keep up with them, and it may not be your neighbors, it may just be people that are seemingly better than you, and you never really stop. And this can lead to a constant struggle, discomfort, unhappiness. Um, and part of it is good because these people, partially the reason that they're doing this is because they're separating themselves from other people who do not do this at all, and they fall into a state of lethargy and laziness and sloth, and they're never trying to improve themselves. They're never trying to be successful. They're never comparing themselves to others and improving and bettering themselves, and then they end up just doing nothing with their lives. But at the same time, you can fall into the other extreme where you're just constantly going up and up and up. And the problem with that is no matter how great you think you are, there's always someone better, richer, smarter, more famous. And if you're always trying to be the best, it'll, it won't work. And even if you do become that number one spot, over time, someone else will overtake it, whether it's because of their youth, new technology, new advances, new knowledge, uh, them using your experiences and knowledge, or you just getting old. There's so many things, and so if you're constantly comparing yourself, it's this huge struggle. It's like, okay, you make $1 million now. What about those people making 10 millions? Then you make $10 million. Then it's like, oh, look at those people making 100 million, and it's a constant struggle. And then it's not worth it, and you end up not being as happy as you can. I think there's a certain amount of balance in terms of um, appreciating people who are less fortunate than you, and acknowledging that and reminding yourself on a day-to-day basis, and so forth. And also, try to improve yourself also, and ratchet up, and do better and be more successful. But in terms of ultimate happiness, um, if you just get consumed with material things, you will find that most material things, whether it's a new iPhone, a new uh, a ring, a diamond ring, a necklace, a new car, your body will naturally sort of standardize it. So it's just like it becomes your new standard, and you get used to it, and it's just your average. And then you're constantly trying to ratchet up, or get new stimuli, and it will just blow out of control. Similar to a drug addict, where you sort of develop tolerance, and you ultimately need more of the drug to achieve the same level of euphoria, or uh, I guess you call it material joy from that drug. Um, and again, I think I do have to mention that psychology study done where it's a measure of happiness, and basically they've seen that generally, on average, and that's a key phrase, because a lot of people cite this study but fail to mention on average. But on average, the people sampled, who those who go through a life altering injury, like losing their limbs or something like that, versus those a population who won the lottery and won a lot of money. On average, most of them, after 6 months to a year, they regress back to their normal levels of happiness. And that's a very peculiar thing, because naturally you would assume that the people uh, who get the money would be a lot happier, and the people who suffer this horrible tragedy would be a lot sadder. But you see that the body naturally adjusts and returns to the basal rate. However, again, it's on average. So there are people who just become naturally very depressed after this, and it's average. So there are people who do not regress back to their natural levels. And again, I feel like people cite this study a lot, and I think people will cite it more, but it's not a perfect study, because it's like, okay, how do you interpret a horrible event? Like, sure, you can lose your limbs, but the rest of your life could be fine. You can still enjoy all the great things about life. Video games, you could talk, you can hear. Well, I mean, there's so many other populations you could potentially sample from. People who have lost their sight, their hearing, both. Um, People who have had traumatic incidences where they cannot form social communities. And I think what you'll find if you sample these studies is that, and other similar stuff, these populations, I find that there's certain aspects that are not related to money that are huge influences to happiness. Just for instance, social communities. We are like the most social species on Earth, and it goes even deeper if you read the book Social. But it's stuff like this that can really, really affect happiness. And obviously, people are different, so not everyone requires a great social community. Some people can even live by themselves and still achieve happiness. There's actually a documentary about this man who lived alone for like 40 years, and he was pretty happy when they found him. So it varies dramatically, because humans, uh, by the nature of genetic variability and natural selection, and how we have survived as a species, each generation has a huge variety in offspring. So it gets fuzzy, but generally most people, their levels of happiness, I feel like it comes from other areas, not just materialistic stuff, which can be big bursts and can be helpful at times too. There's another study done that shows like after a certain income level is reached, and annual income level, I think it was around 70,000 USD currently, inflation adjusted. That might change if you watch this video later. But after that, you will see that the bang for your buck for how much income you get, extra income you get, is not as much. And again, that's on average. So there are people making millions of dollars who are downright depressed because they're in an industry that they hate, or they're doing a job that they hate, but they're making a lot of money doing it. And so on average, you'll see that the bang for your buck is not as much. And therefore, like if you make 10 times $70,000 per year, you're not going to be 10 times as happy. In fact, I know this for sure because there's some people who are not making much money that I have met in my life, much less than 70,000, who are probably close to the happiest people on earth. So how can you beat that? Like they're already at the happiest level. So that really just throws a wrench in this whole thing. But again, that's all I really want to say. I hope this video helped. If you thought this video was interesting and you watched to the end, leave it a like and share with someone you think will very much enjoy this video, or be influenced by it, or needs to see this, or will be helped by seeing this. And hit the subscribe button and the like button, and I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.